Go.
Streaming from South Africa to the world. This is the Stonks Go Moon podcast. What just happened? We break it down so you don't have to.
Welcome everyone to the Stonks Go Moon podcast. Our guest today, Charity Hughes, founder and owner of the HR Realist, Idealist. Welcome to the pod.
Thank you. I feel like I'm a totally different type of guest for you.
Sort of, but you are very intelligent and well-spoken, and so you'll fit in very nicely. And I think the tech sector has a reputation of being very toxic, a toxic work culture, work environment, and this being a predominantly tech and finance podcast, I think it was something that your content spurred me to have you on to talk about culture, because we don't often speak about culture. I don't think we speak on culture at all, especially now. People are so worried about getting a job, number one, that there isn't a job, and that then they take anything and like anything that I can get, and then a month in or a couple of weeks and they realize, oh no, this isn't what I signed up for. So that's why I wanted to talk to you today about culture and why culture is so important for you, just in terms of a company and its leadership.
Yeah, well, it's a great question. You sort of said it there yourself. People
Oh no.
get very unhappy, right? Like this, you spend so much of your life at work, even if it's not always a physical place anymore, it consumes your life. So,
Mm-hmm.
I've watched how even making small strides, small improvements can just have such huge benefit for people. And when we do that and we're helping them feel something that's more positive, that translates into their performance and then the business results, which of course, the folks that watch your podcast, I think, tend to focus on that. So, it's a totally virtuous cycle that, to me, it's a no-brainer. I don't understand why more companies don't lean into the competitive advantage that they can gain from really having some intentionality and focus on their culture.
Why do you think is that? Why? Because obviously they don't. So is it ego? Because you speak a lot about sort of the emotional side and the logical side of leadership. Why don't they lean into that if it's such a no-brainer?
I think there's a lot to that.
Okay, let's
There's
unpack it.
familiarity blindness, right? So
Mm-hmm.
like, hey, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. We're
Mm-hmm.
doing fine. Why should we really care about this? And then kind of the dirty little secret that I find when I'm talking to leaders is the culture has worked for them. Like, so why would they want to change it? And that can be scary and that can be hard to overcome.
Mm-hmm. Is it sort of it reminds me of Mark Zuckerberg now and his culture shift of becoming this tech bro, and everything is we're cool and we're vibing and everything is just working and we go as I say we go. Is that sort of in the line that we're thinking?
Uh, I mean, I don't know. Zuckerberg is a kind of unto himself, right? But no, I mean, there's a lot of old school thinking still, I
Mm-hmm.
find,
Mm-hmm.
and a lot of leaders in older, more established, financial companies, for example, that are more
Yes.
conservative. Older people, older thinking, this is the way I came up through the ranks.
Mm-hmm.
It's worked for me. Why would we change it? And there's also just, not to, there are people that if their focus and their skill set is kind of looking at data, looking at numbers, and the people piece isn't as natural to them, then
Mm-hmm.
necessarily any, bad intent, they don't know.
Yeah, yeah. So what are all, if I'm uh, um, a person looking at a company and identifying companies to work for, and I'm on the outside looking in, what are some red flags that I should look out for? What are some easy signs for me to say, whoa, this is something that I should maybe think about before joining this company? And obviously, everyone's culture is different. I mean, the culture fit would be different if I've got children, or I'm not partial to the going out for a drink, stuff like that. Obviously, we'll not agree on everything, but certainly there are some points that I need to look out for.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, everyone needs to kind of figure out what are your priorities, what's important to
Mm,
you, and what are things that are kind of deal breakers that you wouldn't want to put up with for any amount of money.
mm.
And know thyself, right? So each
Yeah.
of us as employees needs to do that exercise. It's really hard when you're interviewing. I mean, there's certain things, you hear the crazy stories of stuff that goes on. You're like, oh my God, red flags galore. And that's easy. But like for example, I took a job as a chief people and culture officer, and hey, I think I know stuff, right? More than the average person.
Yeah.
And I got in and very quickly realized it was not going to work for me. And so until you're really inside, it's so hard to tell that you
Mm.
definitely have to look out, for the more obvious things. But I think you and I had kind of talked about what are some signs that the hidden agendas and
Yes.
jealousies and the things
Yes.
that can happen within companies, like once you're there. And to me, the biggest one is when things go quiet. Like that one is the scariest one,
Okay.
because you can't easily see what's happening. There could be all kinds of things. And M&A process is one where this happens all the time, because people, that fear and scarcity mindset comes up for people, and they're afraid, what's going to change? Am I still going to be here? All the yuck. And, so when people go quiet, it's like, what's happening? I mean, at the very least, we know that innovation and collaboration isn't happening. Information hoarding is happening.
Uh-huh.
Are your best people looking to leave? Is there distrust building up? So yeah, quiet for me is a big one.
So when you join a company, is it in a fractional base, on a fractional basis?
I do different things where I can
Okay.
either come and do like sometimes I do smaller projects for companies that are a little wigged out about going into things
Mm.
the whole hog. But I can
Because it's
do.
not easy. Your job isn't easy. Let me just put it like that. I mean, working with people, I've got this motto that says, the people with the best people win. And people who are unhappy, even if you have the best people, if you have unhappy people, you're not going to win as a company. So just before you go on, to add to what you said, like people that don't want to deal with, yeah, it's tough. Let's just get that out of the way. HR is a very tough gig.
HR is a challenge for sure.
Yeah.
I don't do so much of the traditional HR anymore. I did that for
Okay.
a long time. My focus now with my business is really developing organizational cultures, which has to happen through people development. And that piece gets missed so
Yes.
much because it's the scariest piece for companies to say, okay, we agree to dig in to all of the underlying stuff that goes on with our people that is creating problems within our company.
Ooh, those are some uncomfortable conversation I can imagine. Does it start at the top or does it start at the bottom? The conversations.
Well, I mean, the conversations have to start at the top to get people to
Okay.
kind of into these programs and agree that they want to do it.
Because
But
otherwise it's a situation of, oh yes, this is completely anonymous. We won't tell you we will tell anyone. I've been in those situations. It's not fun. And it's sort of, if I do it, damned if you do, damned if you don't. So I like here what you're saying about now, has to be up there to start.
well, yes. And the results you get
Hmm.
really depend on how much that's supported and how much that messaging goes out to the people that, people at the top are supporting this, and they want your buy-in, they want your full participation.
Hmm.
Uh, yeah. So, I mean, I come in and do either the easiest thing to get people to agree to is personality assessments, for example. So like,
Okay.
hey, let's start to give people an understanding of themselves. Let's start to give them as teams common language and how to understand each other, and talk about different issues that come up and
Hmm.
different strategies that we might use. And, what are your strengths and how do they complement my, challenges, let's say.
Yes.
So that's always easy.
It's an easy
And
win.
then getting people to look at, okay, how do we then take that information and translate it? How do we look at a longer term culture roadmap for what we want to build in a company?
Mm-hmm.
And then, yes, there are times where people will keep me on fractionally, like once we've done all the heavy lift work to kind of maintain, because culture can die very
Yes.
quickly. It's like a
Yes.
very fragile ecosystem that you have to keep taking care of.
It's like a relationship. I mean, if you don't attend to a relationship, then it dies. You can't just do something and then, oh, this is supposed to last for a year, 2 years, 3 years. So I totally get what you're saying.
Yeah. I like to think of it like a garden. And if we don't,
Yeah. Yeah.
feed and weed.
Yeah. So one of the things that I also wanted to talk to you and find out more, it's about and you talked about personality types and some personality types in companies who are more inclined to be larger than life figures. Let's call them brands. I mean, our personal brand is so worn out term, but they post content online, they post videos online, and I don't know if you've seen on LinkedIn this week, it was one of the most viral posts about this guy who posts about the female anatomy. I don't know if you don't know what it is. I'm not going to say
So, yeah.
what. Yeah, I mean, that's totally insane, right? So I think we can all agree that he crossed the line, right? But so what are some advice when you work with these companies? Surely that comes up as well, like how should I position myself out there, and how should I position myself in the company? Because you are in physical, but you're also in digital. There's two versions of yourself,
Yeah.
and it's a tough one.
I don't get asked about this as much, but to
Well,
me,
here I
culture
am.
is a
Yeah.
360. So
Okay.
it's, and what we're doing internally with our employees translates into how we're dealing with our customers
Mm.
and that. So that's a piece of it for sure. And that public facing image. I mean, social media, the internet, it's a circus, and we're all just the performing clowns trying to not fall off the high wire, right? So it's a difficult balance.
Okay.
And the way I like to look at it is in terms of balance,
Mm.
balance is not 50-50 in this instance. It's probably going to have to be maybe 90-10, where,
Mm.
or around that ratio, where like 90% of your content is very kind of, I don't want to say vanilla, you can spice it up, but it's going to be about your professional thought leadership, if you will. And maybe 10% of the time you're talking about the fact that you like fly fishing or knitting and country line dancing, so people get a sense of who you are. But to wade into difficult, incendiary topics or politics, unless that's the space that your company
Yes.
works in,
Yes.
don't do it.
Yes, yes. It sounds so logical, and one of the things that I see these days, and it's creeping up more and more, and unfortunately, I don't know why it's men, but it's men sliding into women's DMs on LinkedIn with their full company profile, position, where they work, and doing inappropriate stuff or untoward stuff, and it's like, do you this? I don't know what you are doing or what you're expecting to happen, but this is a professional environment where, and the world can see you. So that to me also speaks to, so I don't want to judge the company too harshly, but let's say it's company X and John like does it, and I see company X and I'm thinking, whoa, so John works at that company. Is that sort of the culture there? Are all the men there, I mean, that's a logical deduction to make.
It is. It's logical. It's not always fair
Yeah, yeah.
because, one, people are going to people. People are going to people. People are messy. This is where I really like to say that when companies develop their people,
Yeah.
and by doing that, helping the people understand themselves and
Yes.
understand why they do weird stuff,
Yeah.
When you get a sense of understanding why you behave the way you behave, it
Mm.
it mitigates so many problems before they can become problems.
Yeah. I love it. I think that's where we're going to wrap it up, because that's such a poignant piece of wisdom that you dropped there. Charity, thank you so much for joining me today. If the listeners want to go and find out more about you and what you do, where can they do that?
I'm on LinkedIn a lot, as you know.
Yeah.
And yep, I have a website, thehrrealistidealist.com.
We'll link all the we'll put all the links in the comments, and please don't slide into her DMs, whatever you do. Appreciate that. Charity, thank you so much for joining me today. And to our listeners, peace, love, and prosperity. And we'll catch you in the next one. Cheers.
Will I go out today? No, I'm scared, so scared. What if someone sees me this way? Don't look at me, don't touch me, don't come near me at all. I'll hide away, far away from the shame, far away from their gaze, keep myself safe. Don't look at me, don't touch me, don't come near me at all. I'll hide away, far away from the shame, far away from their gaze, keep myself safe. I'm always what they call me, and listen Japanese, it goes by that name. I don't know what to do, I'm afraid to leave the safety of my room. I'm scared, but what might be out there, what might be outside my door. I'm scared of this cruel, cruel world. Oh, I'm so scared of those cruel words. Stay away, stay away, stay away. I'll just stay inside today. People say they love me, that they won't judge me, but is it true? I want to believe it, but I'm not sure I can.